welcome. Welcome to another Tell Me a Story interview. My name is Joan Osgood, and I am a volunteer with Foster, that is Friends of the Sandwich Town Archives. And we have started a project, this volunteer group, of interviewing long-term residents, some of them whose people have been here for generations back, just to get a glimpse of the town the way it was many years ago. So it is my pleasure to introduce you to Connie Carr, who will be sitting with me for a while and chatting about her memories and her stories of growing up in Sandwich, and specifically Forestdale.
Right.
Hi, Connie.
Yep.
Welcome, and thank you for coming.
Oh, you're welcome.
Well, before we get into your own family and your parents and your children, can you give me a little rundown and history of your ancestors that came here first to Sandwich?
Would be my grandfather Crocker, I think, but I'm not sure. I don't know when he arrived, but he did live here in Forestdale.
In Forestdale.
And
that would be
my
father's father.
Father's father, yeah. And my father's mother was a Hall, and she came from East Sandwich.
Oh, Hall.
And she lived in the building, the house that was the Titcom's bookstore.
Oh my gosh, sure, on 6A.
Yeah, yeah. And my back grandfather would stop the traffic when the train was coming.
That was his job?
That was his job.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I never met him. But, but that was his job.
Oh my gosh, okay. Well, and how about on your mother's side?
My mother's side, her father was directly from Scotland.
Oh, he was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And her mother was from down Yarmouth way. She was an Ellis. She married a Perry. She then married an Ellis, which was her original name. So, but we called her Grandma Ellis.
Yes, it really gets involved. Yeah. So that's interesting. So part of your ancestry started in East Sandwich, and then eventually migrated or moved over to Forestdale.
Right. No, he stayed. He was in Forestdale all the time.
Oh, he was. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about your father and mother? What did they do back then?
Well,
it was not an easy life.
No.
What did they do for a living, Connie?
My father had the John Deere, and then he had the first bulldozer, I believe, on the Cape.
The first bulldozer, yes.
Yeah, and well, he tended the dump for 50 years.
Okay.
My mother worked at Butner's downtown.
Yes, yeah.
And then she became a postmaster.
In Forestdale?
In Forestdale.
For many years, I would think.
Yeah,
yes.
And I became the postmaster after her.
So you took over after her?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I remember those days. We talk about what we used to call it, the dump.
The dump,
It's now something more glorified for a name, but going there, and the hole was
the huge hole.
A huge hole, yes. Yeah. That was quite something.
It wasn't a glorious job, but it was a necessary one.
Absolutely.
He was also a forest warden. One that sprayed for the gypsy moths and all that sort of thing.
Which were quite prevalent in those days too.
Oh, it was awful.
Yes.
I mean, the caterpillars right now are so bad.
Oh yeah, they haven't gone away. They've just yes.
But anyway, that's my father. He was a character.
I remember him fondly, yes.
Do you?
Oh, yes, yes. He was a real presence in Forestdale.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yes, yeah.
Forestdale was a village of just a few people, like about 100 people when I was growing up.
Oh, I believe that, yes.
And everybody was kind to everybody else. It was really a great place to grow up. The Burke family kind of took over. They had taken over the village because there was a lot of
There were so many of them.
So many of them, yeah. But they were like family to me. They were Uncle Ralph, Uncle Charles, Uncle Harold, the whole thing.
Yes.
And they were wonderful to me.
Yes.
And Uncle Ralph used to call me Connie Mac.
Oh, no.
I could go over there any time, even right in the middle of a meal, and he would, they would welcome me.
Yes.
And they just were wonderful, the whole family to me.
Yeah.
Really good people.
Yeah, there were many Burkes in.
There were.
Yes, yeah.
Right.
Yes.
And I introduced Malcolm Burke, who was Harold Burke's son, to his wife, who was Helen Thornton from Florida.
And they ended up getting...
Becky now owns half of the B&B.
Yes, she is married.
So I take credit for Becky.
There you go. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was such a small area. During those times, I think probably the whole town of Sandwich, I looked it up, and probably was around 2,000, 2,500 people.
Is that right?
Yes. And of course, Forestdale being even a smaller village of Sandwich.
Yeah.
So you really grew up knowing most people.
Oh, everybody.
Yes,
Everybody.
yeah.
And last winter I went to visit somebody down in St. Cloud, which is where one of my sons live, Marjorie Burke, she's now Marjorie Smith. And I told her, we went down all the houses in Forestdale, and I told her what happened to everybody. And she loved it.
She loved it. Can you tell us any stories of growing up in Forestdale?
Yes, I can tell you about being a little girl and the convoys going by with the from Otis, actually from Camp Edwards.
Camp Edwards, they called it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
so that,
I'd
Connie,
stand
that
out there and wave to them all.
Now that would have been in 1930s and 40s?
Yeah, when World War II began, it would be what, 40?
In the 40s, yeah.
Yeah, 41 or so.
Yeah.
And the other thing that was important each day, and still is to me, is the mail lady came.
Oh, yes.
And she was out of Mashpee, and she was Mrs. Pocknick.
Pocknick.
Yeah, and her grandson is the postmaster of Forestdale right now.
Is he really?
And that's and I'd be waiting out there by the mailbox. And you know, every little thing was important because there wasn't much going on.
Yes, yes. So everything was an event.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we had searchlights up in Ralph Burke's field across from John Coe's house, and it was manned full time, looking for airplanes that weren't supposed to be there.
Wow.
And
yes. Now that was off the base.
Yeah.
That was near the lights on Route 130.
Yes, it was up just a little past the lights on the
Yes.
other side of the street.
Yes, and there were big lights there too. People were looking at them because that was during the war.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they and that would be right just before they get to Otis.
Yes, yes.
So
Camp Edwards played a very important part in that little town.
Oh, yes, yes.
So you probably saw quite a few of the soldiers, if they allowed them, off base.
they did come out and work.
Yep, did they?
They did, and one of them escaped and came out and lived out there for a while.
Really?
Yeah, and the girl that I saw down in Florida last winter, she woke up one night and he was in her bedroom.
Oh my God! Now, is this one of the soldiers or one of the
one of the prisoners?
Prisoners, because they did have a prison camp out there,
Yes,
didn't
they did. Yeah.
Yes.
And he was there, and my brother Richard, who was in the Maritime, was over in Germany at the seaport up north of Germany, which I think is Germany's only seaport, and I can't think of the name of it. But he was sitting at a bar, and these two German men kept giving him a bad time. So this other German man at the other end of the bar came over and said, "What's the matter?" And he says, "Oh, I'm an American," and and he says, "Oh, where are you from?" And he says, "Massachusetts." He says, "Oh, where?" And he said, "Forestdale, part of Sandwich." He had been stationed out here as a prisoner of war.
As a prisoner.
And he knew the area. He had been out and worked even on our own property.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that
Isn't that? So they let the prisoners, some of them, work in the area?
No, they didn't live there.
They didn't live
They
there,
were
but
brought out.
yes, and they probably were watched very carefully.
Yes.
But they did allow them to work in the village.
Right.
Did any of them work at Veg Acres, Mr. Richards' property?
I think Mr. Richards' farm was after the war.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Pretty sure.
Yeah.
And that was a big thing too.
Yes.
That was the biggest truck farm east of the Mississippi.
Really?
Veg Acres.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Once it got going. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And let's see, I have a little list here, but you want to ask the questions?
Well, who were your friends that you played with?
There weren't a whole lot. Most of the kids, like there were 4 children that were state children. They lived with Charles Burke.
They were what children?
State children.
Oh, okay.
They were named Pease, and they was Donald, Dorothy, Priscilla, and Lawrence.
Okay.
Lawrence. And Charles Burke and his wife Florence took care of them, and they were wonderful with them. And so I got to play with them a little bit, but not a whole lot.
Yes.
And Louise Coe was there, but she was 3 or 4 years older.
Yeah.
And, there's another story about Bobby King.
Okay.
Okay, he was
we
my
love
age.
stories.
I do love stories. Well, lots of people don't know about this one. His father's name, I don't know, but he was volunteer fireman.
Okay.
And we
In
had
Sandwich?
In Sandwich,
Okay.
yeah. And he, and I think it was 1938, but I'm not sure about that. We had a big forest fire.
Oh, yes.
And 3 of the Sandwich firemen were burned to death. And so my mother and father invited his wife and children up to our house to stay because it was a horrible.
He was one of the firemen that was killed in the
Yes.
fire, yes.
Well, a few years later, when we were in 4th grade, Bobby King was one of my classmates.
Okay.
In 4th grade, we had a blizzard. And he was heading from his house up to the little store, which the DeLongs owned. And that's where the post office was at the time.
Oh, okay.
And he got lost in the blizzard.
Oh, dear.
And he froze to death.
Oh,
Can
Connie.
you imagine that poor woman, her husband,
Her husband and then her child.
and then her child? Yeah.
Oh, how
Yeah.
tragic.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of people don't know that, but
No.
it is tragic.
Yeah, a lot of people, of course, didn't know about that big fire and having those 3 men,
Yeah,
you know,
there
be
was a
killed.
little thing up on top of the hill coming up from Sandwich that has the names of the
A
men.
plaque, and
Yeah.
yes, as you go towards Forestdale on the right.
That's
Yes.
right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you lived in Forestdale, but you went to school at Henry T. Wing School.
Right.
And so that's a bit of a distance. You certainly didn't walk.
No.
No.
We had a bus, and our bus did all of South Sandwich.
Uh-huh.
And in the morning, I think we just got on the bus. They'd already picked up the South Sandwich kids. But going home, we had to go to South Sandwich first, and then come back to Forestdale and get off. And when I was in 7th grade, I played the sousaphone.
Oh, did you? Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I had to get it on the bus, and it was heavy, and they'd all laugh at me. But I had a lot of pleasure from my instrument. I
Yes.
played 30 years in the Sandwich Town Band,
Yes.
and I played all through 7th grade to 12th grade. And I also played in the Cape Cod Band. So that was a wonderful thing.
Yes,
You know?
and you right up until just a few years ago, you were
About
playing with the
3 years
Sandwich
ago,
Town
I
Band. 3
stopped.
years ago,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
With your orchestra director was Lenny. Oh dear, isn't that awful?
I can't remember.
Yes,
neither.
neither can I, but I'm sure our viewers can remember.
Yeah.
So you got on the bus. Do you remember the bus driver?
Yeah, sometimes it was Mr. Casperson.
Uh-huh.
That's Judy Hendy's father.
Judy Hendy's father.
And sometimes it was Charles Burke.
Oh, sure. Yep.
And my mother actually drove us sometimes.
Did she really?
Yeah.
Did
and
she
Mr. Casperson, I don't know if he died while on the bus or it passed out, but I hear the rumor that my brother Richard drove the bus the rest of the way where they had to go. Probably it was downtown. I think they went back to the school. But that was Judy's father.
That's how, yes. We're going to be interviewing Judy Hendy, and
Yeah.
we'll probably, a sad thing, but we may touch on that, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And let's see, what else?
Well, how many did you have in your graduating class?
15.
15.
And we were all great kids, really
Yes.
were.
Yeah.
We were good to one another, and we cared about one another. It was really, really an amazing class.
Yes.
I mean, people in the school itself appreciated us as a class.
Well, and also, too, didn't the school play a big part in providing social activities for
yes,
the...
yes.
Yes, do you remember some of the social activities from that?
Well, we had the junior prom,
Oh, yes.
and in fact, I have a picture
Did you go
of
to that?
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I have pictures in that of the pictures I brought to
Oh,
you.
good. Judy,
And,
yes.
And of course, basketball was a big program.
Basketball was. Now, I understand that your team in 1949 won the Cape Cod Championship.
Yes, we did.
Yes, you did.
And we played up at Otis.
Oh, did you? For the
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
At the gym. I think we played Provincetown. Yeah.
For the
pretty sure we-
championship game?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that was pretty good.
But now, when you played at home, tell
played
us
in
about the gym that you played at home in the HT Wing School.
How was it? Did
Yes.
you say? We didn't know the difference. We thought it was okay. You know, that was part of our lives.
Yes,
the gym.
of course, yeah.
That's where we had practice for our band. That's
Yep.
where we had choral practice. And,
Yeah. Well,
know.
it turned out to be a course very small as the
was,
school
but
grew,
it
but
worked.
back in those days, it worked.
It worked.
Yeah.
And my father's class was the first class to graduate from HTY.
Was he really?
Yeah,
Your
and some
father.
of my teachers were his teachers.
Now, can you remember some of your teachers?
Oh, I remember everyone. I do. I love my teachers.
Yes. Can you?
I love
can
my
you-
school. I just thought it was wonderful.
It was a great social
Oh,
thing, also.
yes.
Yes. Who were? Did you have like Mrs. Gannon and Mrs. Mullally, and
Yeah, I sure did. And those both taught my father.
and they taught your father also?
Yeah.
Wow. Yes.
And Mrs. Mullally was very prejudiced towards me.
She was. Good or bad?
Good.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I was well behaved and took part in everything, so that
Yes.
was good.
Yeah.
You know.
Yes.
But our whole class was that kind of a class.
Well,
We had- Robert Griswold was a genius in math, and Barbara Gill was very bright. And, Lois and Marilyn and Judy and I were the top 5. But for 15, that's not much to say.
Well, no, I think it is quite much to say. Who did you go to the prom with? Do you remember?
Yeah, Huck McLaughlin.
You went with Huck
I've got a
McLaughlin.
picture
There's
in
another
that book.
old name.
Yeah.
Yes. We're going to really enjoy the pictures that you've sent to us. And what we've planned to do, Connie, just as a side here, on the Sandwich Archives website, is to put some of the pictures that townspeople have been giving us recently.
Okay.
So with your permission, we'll do that.
Okay.
So that will be fun, yes.
Yeah, because you know a lot of people don't save things like that. I've got a whole house full of savings.
Well, we'll help with that. The archives will.
And if you want more, I have more.
Okay.
You know.
Now tell me, did you go on class trips?
Yes. There's a picture of the class trip
Oh, there
there
is.
too.
Okay, yes.
And Ross Raymond and his wife were our chaperones.
Were they really?
Yeah.
Now Ross Raymond taught me many
Really?
years later. Yes.
Ah,
Yeah.
he was a nice guy.
He was. He was.
he
Yeah.
was
Excellent teacher. Yes.
Yeah.
And so where did you go?
We went to New York first, and
You
then we
did?
went to Washington. And the bus we went on went with Chatham, and so that was interesting.
So Sandwich and Chatham went together.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I guess maybe we took the train to New York, but I'm not positive of that. You
Yes.
know, I've forgotten a lot of things that happened.
Well,
but,
I'm sure what you're remembering is quite remarkable. How many siblings do you have? We haven't talked about that.
okay, I have one brother who is still alive, Richard,
Yeah,
and my brother Jimmy died about 10 years ago.
he did. Wow.
And
Yeah,
he was the
doesn't
one that
seem-
got run over by a car when he was 14 months old.
14
So he had
months.
a big scar. you know.
14 months
But he
old.
was a character, and people loved him.
Yes.
They did.
Yes. Yeah. Same as your father.
Yeah.
Yes. Very
And my
similar.
nephew's little Matthew Crocker.
Crocker, yeah.
is a really sweet guy, and I really like him a lot.
Yeah.
He's really good.
Yeah.
And Craig too.
Yes. So you were the only girl. You were the only daughter. The rest
and I
were
was
boys.
6 years older than Richard and 10 years older than Jimmy, so I was like
Wow. Yes.
convenient babysitter.
Yeah. That probably did
Yeah.
come in very healthy.
Yeah.
Helpful. So your mother was the postmistress.
Yes.
There was quite a bit of socialization because of that. She must have had a lot of stories.
Oh, yes, she
Yes.
did, I'm sure.
Yes.
But, you know, that was the meeting place for all of Forestdale.
Yeah.
They'd come in there and they'd talk, and it was a pleasure for them to come in, and we loved having them come in. Bill Richards enjoyed coming in so much.
Yes. So you chatted with him because you were
Oh, yeah.
postmistress afterwards.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, we had, like, one man came in, and a few days later we had a letter from him. We were the friendliest post office he'd ever been in. But, you know, Linda Parent now, was my worker
Okay.
with
She
me.
worked with you.
Yeah,
Yes.
and she was excellent, and she had a wonderful personality, and she was
Yes.
real friendly, you know.
Yes. And so she moved on eventually to the East Sandwich post office. Did she not?
That was her mother.
Oh, her mother.
Her
Okay.
mother, Marie,
Okay.
worked in East Sandwich.
Yes. Okay.
And Linda worked with me in Forestdale.
In Forestdale. Yeah. Yeah.
And she just retired a couple years ago.
Yeah. That's an old
she
Sandwich
was
name
so
too.
good.
Yes. yeah, yeah. Both wonderful ladies.
Yeah.
Did either of your parents serve in World War II?
No.
Did your dad? No.
No, Dad, I don't know if he was too, I guess maybe he might have been too young. I'm not sure. And he had the responsibility of taking care of his mother. He supported his mother for many years.
Yes.
And then his wife and me,
Yeah.
and I. And yeah, he did not. I had uncles that did, but not my father.
Yeah.
But we were active with people from the base.
Yes.
Sometimes if they had a wife come, they would call my mother, and we had a big house and had many rooms.
Oh, so they were able to stay in your house?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, and I have another little story about Halloween. Gordon Davis, who lived up the street, and Channing Hoxie, who lived over in South Sandwich.
Sure.
Well, we didn't have electricity, and we didn't have running water. We didn't have a bathroom. And Halloween, they went and dumped over our outhouse.
Oh,
Yeah, and but they were good guys.
Yeah.
It wasn't a mean thing. It was
Yeah,
just
it was just-
Halloween. And but when they were running away, one of them tripped and got hurt.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
But you know, it was funny.
Yeah, in those days there were more harmless kind of pranks.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you had no running water,
Oh,
so it was the pump. I
Yeah.
remember, seeing that in some older houses when I was a child visiting
Yeah.
my grandparents. So you had the hand pump. That's going to be very, if any young person listens, on our website and to this interview, it's going to be hard for them to realize that.
they wouldn't. Yeah, and look at they have all the television and the telephones, the fancy telephones and all. They don't
Yes.
even talk to one another. They just stay on their little machines.
Yeah, right, right. Did you have any, when you growing up, again, they were not easy times, and like
But you know what? I didn't know it.
Yes,
You
yes.
know, we
Yeah.
didn't have anything.
It's what life was.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had so many. I had grandmother Crocker, grandmother Haw, grandmother Mackenbach, grandmother Alice. You know, how many children have that many grandmothers around?
Weren't we fortunate to have our nuclear family
Yes.
still around us?
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yeah. And what wonderful memories you have because
Oh,
of
yes.
that.
Yeah.
Did you have any chores growing up?
Oh yes,
I'm sure.
I was always the dishwasher. And my mother didn't make me do a whole lot of things, but dishwashing was the main thing.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And even to this day, when I'm at somebody's house or whatever, I get up and start clearing the tables.
Yeah,
It's
it's
just habit.
what you know.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Did you have a garden? Did your parents have a garden?
Yeah, they had a garden, and I had a 4-H garden,
Oh, you were part of 4-H?
and I had carrots and some other vegetables, but I won a prize for my carrots.
You did.
And then when we were in, I think, 3rd grade or 4th grade, I don't know what it was, which
Yeah.
grade, we had a little McGregor's garden type thing. We had a little song, "We are the carrots, tender little carrots growing in McGregor's garden. Slender and snappy and very, very happy are we."
Good for
And
you.
that was my whole class did that one.
Uh-huh. This was at the school?
At the school,
Yes,
yeah.
yes,
And
yeah.
they had something every year. They had a play, and I think they still do.
Yeah, I think they probably do.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, yes.
Yeah.
Well, of course, back in those days too, it's not so much like today, where the garden really was an important thing.
Oh,
it's
yes.
what you ate. I mean, you were
Yes.
dependent upon that.
Yeah.
It wasn't sort of a hobby; it was a necessity.
It was a need.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had we raised a lamb. No, it was a pig. What was it? Oh, well, anyway, when they killed it for us to eat, because we were growing it for food.
Yes.
I think it was a lamb. My father was serving the lamb, my mother serving the lamb. He goes, "Bah," and none of us would eat it.
Yeah, because you grew up with it.
Yeah, it was our pet,
Sure,
you know.
of course,
Yeah.
course, yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah.
You picked up on little things like that, and you didn't think about the bad stuff.
Yeah, no.
And we saved scraps and scrap metal and all that stuff,
And your father would sell that?
I don't know if he sold it. I think they collected
it and
Yeah.
used it, yeah.
Yeah.
Again, going back to the town in those days, the whole town, maybe 2,000, 2,500 people. Can you think, Connie, of anything you've talked about that life is sort of life? We just, put one foot in front of the other. But something that was a big event that to you, even as a child or more of a, as you grew up.
I don't remember any big events. I mean, like I had brothers born, and
Sure.
And we had the snake pond, and like we'd walk around it, and I would swim the whole length of it.
You would?
Yeah.
The whole length of
The whole length of it, yeah. But that was our playground.
Sure.
You know, and,
yes.
And Forest was a wonderful place to grow up.
Yes.
Really.
Yes.
And,
certainly it stayed much more rural, even as the Sandwich proper started to grow.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we were happy with it the way it was. You know,
Yes.
everybody, honest to goodness, I don't know anywhere that more people helped one another.
Yeah.
The Newmans were there, and they were real. My father and mother had a house fire, and when it came time to fix it up, he came up and did a whole lot of work. Just volunteered, did it.
Mr. Newman?
Yeah.
Yes.
Billy.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
He did a lot of carpentry work, didn't he?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
They were a nice family.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that bespoke of the way people, helped each other out
They
in a
did.
small community, you
Yeah.
know. Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the effect of Otis and Camp Otis was the fact that we had all those convoys. We had people come and stay. One time, one lady was there, and she had to go back to New Hampshire, and so my mother drove her. But she took me with her. That was the first trip I'd had off Cape Cod,
Cape.
I think. And it was exciting, to get off and
Yes, yeah.
see different things. And but that's the kind of people my mother
Helping
and father
out,
were.
certainly,
Yeah.
yes.
And the whole village was a big help.
Yeah, and it sounds really that that the village even really sort of assimilated the Camp Edwards people.
Yes, they did.
It wasn't as if they were strangers or interlopers.
And the girls would go to the USO,
Oh,
meet a man, and quite a few of them married them, and they moved to Texas or whatever. And so we lost some of our girls.
you lost. Doesn't seem fair somehow.
Well, in fact, Ruthie Burke, let me see, this is a kind of a funny story. Ruthie Burke, Harold Burke's daughter, lived with us during the war because Harold and his wife went to Florida, and he was doing some sort of work for the government.
Work for the government.
And
So their daughter stayed with you?
yeah, no, Ruthie stayed with us, and we got to be very close. And my parents and and I was just a little girl, but
Sure.
And she met somebody out the USO, and she finally did marry him, and moved to Texas. And when we were over in Germany, my husband was in the Air Force, and his boss's name was Chuck Horton.
Okay.
Ruthie married Horton anyway.
Yeah.
Bob
you said,
Horton. And so anyway, my mother's down visiting Ruthie in Texas, and she's looking through the photograph album, and she says, "That's Connie." And so Ruthie looked too, and then they saw Gene, my husband.
Your husband.
And how did that happen? Well, it turns out Buzz and Bob are brothers, and here we are in Germany.
In Germany.
My husband's working for Bob's
For the brother. Isn't that something?
Isn't that
Again,
something?
a small world. Wow.
Oh, it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, there were all kinds of wonderful things that happened.
Did your family, anyone in your family, this would have been way back, work in the sandwich glass factory, Connie? That you know
No,
of?
I don't
No.
believe so. I don't believe
Okay,
so.
none of
No.
the Crockers are. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was a
And
big.
I don't know what my grandpa, well, I know that he let the trains go through and stop the traffic. Other
yes.
than that, I don't know.
Yes.
I never met him.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
but
there
Grandma
was-
Hall lived with us out in Forestdale when she got to the point she couldn't take care of herself.
And her name again, please?
Her Ina.
Ina.
No, Grandma Hall. My grandmother Crocker's name was Ina, but I don't know what Grandma Hall's name was.
Okay.
To tell you the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know her daughters.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was. growing up was really a pleasure.
Yes, I can hear that. Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Are there any other stories or that we haven't touched on that you would like to share?
Maybe you
That
can
Oh,
look
okie
through
dokie.
that. I wrote trying to figure out what I was going to say.
Okay.
I can't
You
read
have,
it.
okay, you have drugstore?
Was it?
Drugstore?
Oh, well, I worked at the drugstore.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Now,
And
what
I
drugstore was
worked
that?
And how did I do with that?
No, which
I worked
drugstore
at
was
the-
that?
Oh, downtown.
Downtown.
Pratt's drugstore. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
And
And that was for people that know. That was on, Pratt's Drugstore was on Java Street, was it
Right.
not? Yes, in the block.
post office, the block.
In the they
post
called it the
office and
block.
the drugstore and the grocery store. Russell's.
Yes.
Not Russell's.
No, ours was further down. That was
Yeah.
the, oh dear.
I've forgotten. Anyway.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Someone will listen to this and they'll tell us.
Yeah.
Yes, and that, of course, now that is on Java Street. That's an apartment building.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that
Yeah.
was
That
down,
was the center of the
that
town.
was the center of the
People
town.
went to get their mail at the post office and they visited and, they waited till the train came in.
Yeah.
Because the train was the one that brought the mail.
Yes, exactly.
And,
Yeah.
It was a real social
Yes.
kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think someone met
Russ,
that
no, never mind.
A&P. Was it the A&P First
It was
National?
something like that,
Yeah,
yeah.
because Mr. Alvisi had his store.
Yeah.
There were 3 stores right on Java Street, 3
That's
grocery
right.
stores.
Yeah.
Russell's Market, Alvisi's store, Mr.
Yeah.
Walter Alvisi's store, and then this store that we can't remember.
It was Caesar Alvisi. My daughter,
Oh, yes.
my sister-in-law is the daughter of Mr. Alvisi.
Yes.
Abby. I
Yes,
think.
A.B. Alvisi,
Yeah.
yes, yes. He was there with Walter, was he not? And then
Oh, I don't know.
and then Mr. A.B. Alvisi, he had a store down in
East
East
Sandwich
Sandwich,
Beach.
didn't he? Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, great memories.
Yeah.
So you worked there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I didn't work there.
No, you worked in the drugstore.
Drugstore. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, and I worked at Mrs. Harvey's on Shum Lake.
Oh, you did.
Yeah, I didn't ever ask my mother and father. Oh, I have another story too. Didn't ever ask my mother and father for money. I went out and got a job.
Yep.
I babysat too and whatever.
Yeah.
Worked at the little post office with Mrs. DeLong. That was in summer. All
In the
these jobs
summertime,
was
yes.
summer, yeah.
Now, let's get back the tea house that you worked in. That was located right next to the grist
hall.
mill, was it not, in the town hall?
That's right, yeah.
At that point.
Mrs. Harvey's.
Mrs. Harvey's tea house, yes.
And we couldn't take tips.
Oh,
We weren't allowed to have tips. So if somebody tipped us, we had to put the money in our shoe. So
and
we'd
hide
have
it
sore
from her.
feet.
You'd have to be waitressing with your feet full, your shoes full of coin.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, they didn't tip us very much. They knew
Yeah.
they weren't supposed to.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
But anyway, I had a variety of jobs.
Yes. Now I see on this list 2 bunnies. Was that Mr. DePietro?
Yeah.
Bunny DePietro.
Yeah.
You worked in his shop.
Yep.
Uh-huh. Now explain where that used to be.
That was between Russell's Market and the hardware store.
And the hardware store.
Liberty's hardware store.
Yes, it's the Mr. Liberty used to own it.
Yeah.
But of course now Heidi McDonald Arnold and Jimmy Arnold own
Yeah,
that block of stores.
Oh, they do?
Yes, they do.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
Is
Is there anything where the bunnies used to be? Is it?
It's sort of like a gift shop.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Okay.
But now can you explain to us what you did there? What kind of store did he have?
He had like served milkshakes and sundaes and it was ice cream.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think we had any sandwiches. I think it was all.
Ice cream, yeah.
Ice cream.
And of course, that's the DePietro family, which has been here many, many years.
Yeah.
And that's a
Yeah.
rather large family in town,
Yeah.
too, and well known, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we talked about the tea room. Telephones.
Oh, that's it. This
telephones.
is a funny story.
Yes.
In the beginning, when we first had telephones, Mashpee Exchange, which is 477,
Yes.
had dials,
Oh,
but Sandwich and all the other ones around had operators.
yes.
Okay, and that's because somebody who lived over in Osterville was a big part of the telephone company. And
Oh,
he got
no
that
kidding.
was a tryout.
Oh, no
section.
kidding.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so one night I was keeping score for the town basketball team, the men.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And because Judy Handy usually did it, but she was sick or something, I can't remember. So I was keeping score. And this man walked in and I says, "Oh, he's handsome." And so the scorekeeper for Otis went and told him that. And he went back to the base and he called the operator and he said, "Do you know anybody named Connie Crocker?" And "Yeah, I do." And so he got my number. And if it had been a dial telephone,
Oh,
he wouldn't have gotten a number.
No, because you could just call up and say,
Yeah, they wouldn't have.
You knew the operators.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so he called me the next morning, and we started dating, and that's the one I married.
Isn't that? And so that is how you met Gene Carr.
Yep.
Isn't that? What a nice story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He noticed
Yeah.
you at the basketball court, taking
Yes.
score. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be
Yeah,
darned.
it was interesting.
Yes. Yeah.
And I wouldn't have had all those children that I had
Yes.
without him,
Yes. Well, tell us about that.
Oh, well, I had children
Yes.
every year. And we moved.
A lot.
He was in the Air Force 20 years while I was married to him, which was fortunate because I got to go all over the world.
All over the world.
And when I was 20, I had my first son, 21, my second, and 23, my third child. 33, I had a fourth one, but that was, long time after. But he was born, and Gene was over in Thailand.
Oh, yes.
And so I'm traveling with 4 children. One of them a 6-month-old baby, which I have to carry the whole time.
Yes, 6 months.
And we go out to California. We go to Travis Air Force Base at like 1 o'clock in the morning, get on the airplane, and we travel to Guam and Okinawa and all that sort of thing. Well, we land in a typhoon, which is like a hurricane.
Oh, no.
And when we get to, first of all, when we get to Honolulu, we have to get off, and we leave the Christmas presents on the airplane. Somebody stole them while we were gone. I mean,
And here you have all these little
nobody
children.
realizes what people go through when they're transferred or in the Air Force,
When they're in
in the service.
Yes.
Doesn't matter what.
But in a sense, what a wonderful education for the children.
It was, and
You
it was
know,
education for me.
For
too.
you, coming
Yeah.
from small town Forestdale. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we lived in Europe for 4 years.
Yeah.
And I got to travel to Italy and France and England and
What a wonderful.
all over
yes.
Germany.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was wonderful.
Wonderful memories.
But
yes.
it's good to be back in Forestdale.
I always find that to be so. It's good to be
Yeah.
back in Sandwich.
I dropped the baby one night when I was sleeping, because that's how I had the whole trip. I had to hold him.
Oh, yes.
I was very embarrassed.
Oh.
But
Oh, boy.
he survived.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have 4 children.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are any still in town, or are they
Yeah,
all?
Stephen and Deborah are in town,
Wonderful.
and the other
Great.
2 are in Florida, and they're coming up for my birthday. Not on the day of my birthday, but later on in the month.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yeah, so we'll all be together for the first time in a long time.
May I ask your birthday? What?
July 1st is my birthday.
And how old will you be? May I ask?
85.
85.
Yeah.
Good for you.
But when you compare me to other 85-year-olds, I get along pretty well.
You're darn tootin'. That's
Yeah.
right. That's
Of course,
right.
they're not deaf or blind. I'm dumb.
Oh, well, it has been such a pleasure
Oh, thank you.
to chat with you, Connie, and it's
Thank
I'm
you.
so glad you were willing to do it, because it does open up a new light, on Sandwich for people that haven't perhaps lived here for so long. And in addition, for people that have, it's nice for them to hear, the memories. And I'm certain that the names that we couldn't remember, the people that
know.
lived here for over a
They'll
long
know,
time,
yeah.
they'll remember. I'm
There's
certain.
one picture in there of the, I don't know what anniversary it was of Sandwich, but it has a lot of the local ladies in it.
Oh, yes.
And you'll probably like to, then you'll
Yes.
find out those names too.
Yes, thank you again for giving us those pictures,
Oh, you're welcome.
loaning them to us. And as I say, we will be putting them up on our website, because I think it would be a nice
It will be
thing
nice
to
for
do.
everybody to see them.
Absolutely, yes.
So,
Well, thank you for joining us for another version with Connie Carr of Tell Me a Story. You can look at not only this interview, but the other interviews that we've done and that we will be doing What you would do is just click on to the Sandwich Public Library website, and the archives is on that website. Click on our drop down, and all the interviews that we've been doing and that we will be doing are on that website. Thank you again, and look for us again as we tell me a story. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Whoa.